Well, good morning and good afternoon to you all. Hopefully, you can hear me just fine right now. If I could just get a quick raise of hands that everything's sound wise working all right. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for being here. Everybody else, welcome, welcome to this exciting day. It's we get to be together with Nebula. So today, Nebula Together really represents a Zyxel strategy to help customers realize the power of how bringing a whole network environment comes together into a single platform. So my name is Tri Nguyen. I am one of the product managers and sales managers here at Zyxel, and we look forward to being able to present to you this new thing that we just launched this week. Over the weekend, some of you may already saw it, but this is pretty much the kind of the culmination of all of that, bringing some new products and some new feature functions to help with products together over into the Nebula platform that we haven't seen before. And so just a little bit about who we are and things like that too. We'll cover that, but pretty much today, the workspace that we're connected to, the networks that we're connected to have really evolved. There's a greater reliance on remote working or home workers as well that connected to the business through a remote network environment. And there are over the last year or so, they've been able to create these connections, but not 100% certain on how to make sure that there are the security issues that may be existing there. So there's a lot of increased security risks with the complexity and challenges of trying to manage, monitor, and support these networks in this kind of new way of working. You have maybe non-technical people who are working remotely that are being asked to set up VPNs or set up some way to be connectivity back into the office to do remote work. So this extensive upgrade that we have just released now allows really a big milestone in the Nebula platform. It incorporates and expands its functionality to deliver some new fully integrated functionalities and security using the USG Flex series foundation of business gateways. So that is really where we're bringing this togetherness within to the network platform, the Nebula network platform. This upgrade actually allows clients to expand beyond your traditional networks. So beyond that physical network within the office itself to support remote workers efficiently and most importantly, securely, including the support for like two-factor authentication, security functionalities, and be able to address security policies that are needed within that network, and be able to extend that network as your office network into the home as well. So being able to get that reach, how do you do it efficiently? How do you do it securely? Is really the big message for today. So a little bit about Zyxel. We've been in existence for 32 years of networking experience. Since 1989, 100 million devices making global connections, 600 passionate employees working at Zyxel Networks, serving 150 global markets. Over 700,000 businesses work smarter with Zyxel solutions today. We offer a comprehensive portfolio delivering an end-to-end network solution, security appliances, wireless solutions, LAN connectivity with your switching and fiber cores, access gateway routers with hotspot functionality, and network management. And today we kind of cover all of these things because of what Nebula is and what the Nebula platform provides. We are bringing networks together. So this is really a strategy for us again to showcase what the power of the cloud can do by bringing the entire network into a single platform within the cloud. So a little bit about what Nebula is. If you're not yet familiar with Nebula, it allows for you to actually get connected to the networks, or actually your networks connected for your customers within minutes. You can launch your devices and be able to have those contact back into the Nebula cloud and configure it and get monitoring capabilities, all done with even a QR code. So even without even unboxing the device. So you're able to get online as long as the device has internet connectivity. We can do it all from there. The device calls home. You registered after you registered the devices. You can use again like the QR code that's on the box or even on the belly label of the device. And once it's added to that network space, basically for your account, the you're able to auto configure or you're able to pre-configure the devices the way you want for the gateways, the uh, access points, the switches, and be able to do all that before the device even boots up. So once the device is then connected to the internet and is able to call home, Then the autopilot basically handles all that. The auto provisioning, the feature functions that let you push all the the firmwares, the configuration files that you've already pre-configured. So really it helps for a mass deployment kind of scenario, or even to extend reach where you may not have reached before. A lot of times we have to go do a truck roll to send to get to a customer to do an install. But in this case, especially today's day and age, where you may have remote workers maybe outside of even the state, or outside of, or customers that may be working beyond your driving distance, you're actually able to do even touchless installation, where you can send off a installation kit for the gateway, the switch, the access points, and things like that, to have the customer or the employee do the install themselves, just by simply plugging in the firewall into the internet connection, the switch into the firewall, and the access point into the switch. And then from there, it's able to call home, and we can take it from there. And it gives you a visibility. So from a management standpoint, it gives you a high level view, and you can drill in deeper. So it's like you're just viewing something from orbit per se, and seeing all the different networks, all of your customers from a single point of a single pane of glass. So you can manage your different organizations, which are let's say your different customers, and each one of your customers may have different sites. Now you can think of this also as a remote working environment. Let's say you're managing a network for even yourself. You have your organization, which is your company, and each one of the sites can become a one of each one of your employees, like each one of your employee sites. Now, also, I forgot to mention, if you have any questions during this presentation, feel free to use the Q&A section to send me any questions you may have, and I'll try to answer those if they are pertinent to that section. If not, I'll try to cover it at the end of the presentation. But really, it gives you this management view, and be able to troubleshoot and do a lot of different things within. So this is kind of, again, just general information about the Nebula platform itself. The Nebula platform gives you visibility from mission control, gives you a dashboard that, again, you're able to not just view from a high level at the organizational level, but able to drill into each individual site. So you can actually go into each individual customer or employees network to see kind of the situation that's happening there. So you can see how powerful this is if you have, let's say, remote offices with a central office, and they're all under the same customer. You can then do different profiles, configure, monitor, troubleshoot without any need for like a remote access device. Today, a lot of customers are having to build either a port forwarding through the router, or building VPN tunnels in order to get to the network to manage it, or to get information from it, so that they can help or troubleshoot or to manage those kinds of networks. With the Nebula Cloud Control Center here, you're able to have that kind of access without that complexity. And we also even have a dedicated app as well to give you information about your network and about your all the different sites, and to be able to drill into that as well. It gives you the access to, again, multi-site organization. You can then see what kind of devices are included with it, how much power you're consuming, what kind of real-time application data and traffic summary, how much bandwidth you're using, what websites are people going to, who are the biggest clients, what are the different wireless clients that are out there. A lot of information that you can change around within this dashboard as well. So it gives you that visibility that you typically wouldn't have, or it's really difficult to build yourself, and be able to access it anywhere using any device that has internet connectivity, either with the app or with the browser. You're able to use for tablets, your mobile devices, your laptops, from anywhere. So as long as it has internet connectivity to the cloud, you have this visibility of your existing network or your customer network. So I'm kind of talking in both spaces, both if you are a partner where you're doing a managed service and you're managing someone's device, it's beneficial, obviously, and of course for the customer themselves. If you're looking to getting Nebula for your own office and be able to have that visibility and to do remote access. But of course, we're talking a lot to our partners here and how you can sell it to your customers and the solutions that we can provide through Nebula. And now with the USG Flex added to the Nebula platform, we are adding some additional very powerful functions that will help you to do that. You can synchronize sites together. So if you have different sites, let's say within the deployment, you're able to synchronize similar configurations. So let's say profiles for security. You have all of your employees under each individual site. you can sync that from a master device. And so be able to sync those profiles so that, either content filtering access or whitelists and things like that are all synchronized within all those devices within the organization that you wish to have. Being able to back up and restore devices and switches and be able to keep those within the cloud so that in case something happens to the device, you're able to quickly restore the connectivity within the device itself by just having to switch, the hardware out per se, and the new hardware grabbing that new configuration file. Being able to create site configuration templates is very powerful as well. If you're going to be doing this for, multiple sites, let's say employees or even offices or even remote offices, you can actually have these sites be cloned, and these templates be pushed to those different sites. So that makes it a lot easier for you to deploy once you kind of have a cookie cutter kind of solution. And this cookie cutter solution also can apply to, let's say, a doctor's office. Let's say you're going after doctor's offices in terms of a customer base. Then you can actually clone these templates that are typical configurations for doctor's offices, so that then you can change, the other more sensitive information, like maybe they want a custom SSID, of course, all of their internet connectivity, what is their private network information, that kind of stuff. You can then just tweak those and not have to do a full configuration. Firmware updates can be done also over the cloud, over the air, that you can schedule, or you can do it instantly with the touch of a button. So it gives you really a powerful way to manage all of these devices within Nebula Cloud. So we can see now more and more things are, really beneficial in using the cloud. The NCC is also packed with additional remote tools, so that you can do troubleshooting, you can diagnose potential network issues that may be there, where you typically had to be on site. You had to have like a laptop there to do, remote CLI connectivity or to do diagnostics on either cable, doing ping test or speed test. You no longer have to tell your customer, can you go to a speed test, website and do a speed test there and tell me what's happening, right? You no longer need to do that. For that, you can do it yourself within this Nebula platform using the devices that are already there. So you can actually do speed tests, ping tests, do cable diagnostics on the fiber connections, the copper connections, to see if there's anything wrong with the wire, or maybe there's a disconnect. Doing automatic topology, so you can see how the network is connected. Maybe there is some additional devices that shouldn't be connected to that network, and then you can see. Be able to also log all that information for user audits and for information, let's say certain devices came online that shouldn't have come on, and be able to see that and be able to provide some sort of solution and control. So it's all about network visibility, network control to do that within this solution. And that gives a lot of partners who maybe didn't have or don't have access to building their own third party, building their own backend NOC network to manage these things. Nebula does it all for you. And we've worked with a lot of managed service providers who really like this platform in order to do those kinds of things. So really, it's a benefit to everybody to take advantage of that. And we're trying to simplify connectivity as well within the situation, especially, again, remote access. People are trying to do VPN connectivity, but don't have the expertise to necessarily do it. We're able to establish site-to-site VPN with auto deployments, with some simple clicks, even to scripts that can be emailed to the client, and using our client devices, be able to negotiate and be able to configure itself in that process so that it can have connectivity back to the remote office. And this is a new feature that we've just added within this current firmware for our USG series products. It's called Secure Wi-Fi, where the access point automatically will create a VPN tunnel, a secure tunnel back to the central office. So it's able to then create this effect by just deploying an access point to a remote location. You have connectivity through that SSID to go back to the network as if you were sitting in the office itself. So it's basically an extension of your network. So you have your network printers, your file shares, whatever it is. You don't need the complexity in knowing how to set up the laptop with an IPsec client. You don't have to set up an IPsec client with your phone. You don't have to connect, your IP phone, whatever it is. You just have to connect to that SSID. And based on the IP and information and profiles, the IT manager can then also control who or what devices have access, through that network. So it allows for you to expand this idea and this concept called zero trust networking, And zero trust really expands the fact that not only do you have unique control within your network in your office, right? Being able to block, outside intrusions, uh, content filtering, or maybe malware, virus, those kinds of things on the outside. But you also can't trust the devices that are inside that may have be maybe compromised, or maybe that is an avenue where people are or hackers or malware and things are trying to get access within your network. So we are providing this platform that responds to both the external threats, but and also internal network threats. And using Nebula and the USG Flex now kind of brings it all together to kind of get to that stage of zero trust security principle without having to deal with a lot of these complex issues or setup configurations that are usually found in kind of enterprise solutions. We bring that together to try to simplify it. So our secure Wi-Fi feature gives you that ability, again, to drop in an access point that can be configured to just have like an SSID that your office would normally use. So let's say I have an SSID called Zyxel, and I have this access point deployed in my home. And that is able to tunnel through the routers, whatever may be existing within the network, to the office and builds a secure tunnel through that. And the advantage of that is today, with people working at home, the security issue is it's a home network. Typically, home networks have just a basic router. It could just be an SPI firewall. And unfortunately, today, we have to connect through it in order to get to our office. And there's a little bit of, there's no control. IT can't go in and control that router to tweak it to make sure that your, office access is as secure as possible. And in addition to that, a lot of these routers may have things that block, VPN access, or block these kind of other different ports that are necessary in order to make these remote connections. But this allows for you to basically build a punch a hole through, or actually outbound connection to the network office back at the back at corporate. So it really creates a seamless connection to that office as if you were sitting there. So as long as you're connected to that SSID and you've authenticated to it based on your Active Directory or your authentication methods requirements for your corporate office, as if you were logging in there, it gives you access through the tunnel back to the corporate office and makes it look like you're just sitting in your office connected to any of the other resources that are there. So it really simplifies that deployment and makes it into a very plug and play option, especially because you're talking about using this device in a Nebula platform as well. So imagine this scenario. You have a new employee who is remote that you need them to have access to maybe the billing system, the CRM system within the office itself in order to place orders or whatever it is to manage your customers. You're able to ship off an access point and have them plug it into their existing network. It's able to call home back to the Nebula platform. The Nebula platform says, you belong to this customer, you belong to this company, and here is your firmware, here's your configuration. And all that employee now has to do is just log into that SSID with the credentials that's supplied by their IT in order to make that connection back to the office. And now instantly, not having to worry about multiple SSID, multiple VPN clients for multiple devices, they're able to just make that connection and maybe be able to do that securely in that workspace. So that's really how we're working to provide this kind of solution to the customers and what you can provide to your end customers who may be looking for this kind of remote access. Now you can see this is also a very advantageous to even expanding to an existing office as well, or maybe you're deploying a whole new office. You don't have to worry about building a site-to-site VPN anymore from that remote office back to this corporate network. Instead, you can just have access points deployed to quickly get up without having to make those configurations for a site-to-site tunnel. And anybody who's connected to that is then subject to as if they were sitting within the central corporate office. So that requires, though, a separate secure Wi-Fi license feature. So it's a license feature for the gateway. So it adds the AP supports and it adds that secure Wi-Fi functionality to it. So it's a yearly subscription for those. It's really nominal. And when you look at it in terms of even the upgrade of number of APs that the Office network supports. But just keep in mind, one thing you do have to remember, though, is that it does use basically a VPN tunnel to building those connections. So the more access points you have remotely in the different locations, those will actually consume the tunnel count of your existing USG Flex or your ATP device. So those will be, counted towards as if somebody is directly, VPNing to the network. So just keep that in mind. And it works for, there are specific access points. So you have to look at the support list. Typically, it's our higher end or mid to higher end access points that work with this remote workplace environment for the secure Wi-Fi. You just have to keep watch because we do need the extra you know, uh, CPU power in order to build that within that hardware itself. Since it's not made to, and it wasn't built like a VPN firewall with a dedicated chip to doing this kind of tunneling. It's using what it's already have. So we need basically the more powerful devices in order to make it happen, to make it to make the performance acceptable. So we know that when we're dealing with wireless, that there are a lot of things that kind of come into play. Being able to troubleshoot wireless is the hardest part, I would say. So Nebula allows for you to do a lot of things, be able to get that visibility that you typically wouldn't have unless you logged into like every one of the devices, each one of the access points to figure out what's going on. So this actually gives you a better understanding of what's happening, the performance of the access points, the performance and indications of the devices itself, and actually can use AI and machine learning to push and to move and to change channels to these clients so that it can improve performance or improve customer quality of service in that process. So we're able to use information. We get an information view for our how much bandwidth is being used, the performance of each individual AP and client, and then be able to make different kinds of actions to improve the network or to improve the quality of service for those clients. And it gives you information as well, like the DBM, the signal strength. So then you can plan ahead and troubleshoot. Maybe a customer calls you and says, "Hey, I have a device and it seems to have very poor connectivity." You can actually log into your Nebula platform for that customer, find that device and actually see what its DB is. And maybe based on where it's located, you might be that you either have to move that device or you have to add an additional access point there. So you can actually find out those kinds of information. So that's very valuable. And now that we're connected with that Wi-Fi and have that connectivity and that integration, we can actually go to the next level on security. We're able to leverage what we call CDR, collaborative network defense, to automatically respond to any kind of cyber threats that are there that our device detects and be able to take action at the wireless access point itself. So where the edge is. So the connection from the device, we're able to either contain the devices or even block devices from making it into the network without having to saturate any kind of your switch networking access or to your gateways. So if it's able to detect this kind of anomaly within the firewall or a potential threat, it's able to block those devices at the access point itself. So that's another feature that we've just added to our platform and to our USG Flex. So you're able to manage that now also in the cloud. We've added additional authentication methods, authentication to improve security, things like two-factor authentication, and also dynamic PSKs. So personal PSKs for situations that need to connect to maybe an existing SSID, but have them isolated together. So here's an example. When you go to a hospitality today, or if you're deploying into a multi-tenant unit today, if you connect to a specific SSID, most of the SSIDs have what we call intra-BSS blocking, meaning that the clients cannot see each other. And it's really for security reasons that a laptop can't see another laptop on that hospitality or in that public kind of network to prevent network share or prevent people from using each other's iTunes or whatever it is. But it's more of a security function that's what's needed today. But in some cases, you may have a multi-tenant unit building, and rather than having all these access points have 15 different SSIDs for each individual family that lives in the building, you're able to actually have one SSID throughout the entire building, use dynamic PSK. So it's a personal PSK here that when you use that personal key or that personal number or that ID authentication, all devices that are sharing that same PSK will exist in the same VLAN. So it's almost like auto VLAN, where even though you're connected to the Zyxel SSID, if I use my password or my PSK and somebody else uses a different PSK, they're separate. So they're able to be isolated, but yet they can still be talking to each other. And this is really beneficial, or in the case of, let's say you have like, a gaming console or even some sort of streaming to the TV. You want your smart TVs to be able to talk to your devices within that same network. So this allows for you to create a wireless virtual VLAN network, and it's roamable. So even if I go from, the bottom of the building to the top of the building, rather than having to reconnect to that SSID upstairs, I'm still connected to the same general public SSID, but I get to only talk to the devices. I only see the devices within my personal pre-shared key. So really that helps also to control other types of IoT devices. So if you may have like smart home devices with uh, smart cameras, or smart entry. You have your doorbells, you have your alarm system entries. Those kinds of things can be using the same SSID that exists throughout the entire network, but be just within your own personal VLAN. So in that personal pre-shared key. So it's really, a cool addition to the feature set that allows for you to do that. This approach really helps again to maximize that zero trust in principle as well. So being able to make sure that all those devices are secured, and then only your trustworthy devices are within your own network, but then not having to deal with, like I said, 16 different SSIDs per access point configured, so that all of the individuals can go onto their network while they roam through the entire network. And we also see this kind of popping up in resorts as well, right? If you go to a resort, they may have the option for you to connect your streaming devices or your consoles. And in typical hospitality, those devices will end up getting blocked, because then you can't get more than one console. If more than one people bring that, it's going to cause a network error, because there's two, all coming from the same addressing and such. But being able to have them isolated from each other, then you have more control, and you'll be able to have them be able to talk to each other, so you can stream to the smart TV device, or the little casting devices and such. So that's where you can see more of these applications pop up, and also protect the corporate network, or whatever the network is for the private side as well. So because we are bringing that USG Flex into the fold here, we are now bringing a higher level, an advanced level of unified threat management. It's a full featured unified threat management. I know some of you may have already been using an NSG platform before for Nebula, for the gateway performance or the gateway services, but now we're bringing the full featured UTM. So anything you see within the standalone USG Flex is now brought into and protecting within the Nebula platform. And so that's something that we've been waiting for quite a long time, and I'm excited that it's finally here, and that we're able to not only protect with more UTM functionalities, but able to provide to customers a more advanced, a faster way of doing this UTM security, because we don't want to sacrifice speed while we're doing these kinds of high level security functionalities. And so we can do advanced UTM with application control, filtering, even content filtering using DNS and URL as well. So being able to provide malware protection, and be able to block users from going to maybe social media sites, or having different profiles for remote users. And I think that was the other challenge as well, is that remote users, when they were using and connecting to the corporate network, you didn't have that control on what kind of security policies are required for that, because they're connected to their home network. So they could technically go anywhere. But then that can also open up you know, um, some additional network threats, or even breaches that may happen, just because of that kind of network is so more widely open and less control. So they're able to now get control back using the Zyxel solution within the Nebula platform, and get that visibility using that secure Wi-Fi, and be able to push these kinds of threat management policies all the way to the remote devices themselves. So be able to control that, so that anybody's connected to the corporate, They're basically kind of flushed clean or at least scanned before they get to the corporate network. So to really protect that corporate network side of things. We have expanded that network security intelligence as well. We've integrated Secu Reporter within the Zyxel system. So Zyxel's Nebula platform has its own reporting tool, but we're also, if you're looking to getting more advanced security insight, you can actually click through to our Secu Reporter side if you have that kind of subscription and such for further threats, details, abnormal user behavior, be able to customize security reports as well to provide to your customers. A lot of our partners are like, how do I monetize or how do I do a managed service to my customers with UTM? I don't want to just charge them a yearly subscription fee for the licenses and that's it. I want to be able to show them why this service is necessary. And these reports are really what benefits that function. It allows for you to send off PDFs to show to your customers or to the IT managers what are the latest threats that we blocked, how much bandwidth people were using, what websites were the most popular, who was going to where, and be able to provide that customized report with your logo, whatever it may be, to the end customer. And to be able to show that value, this is what we've protected in over the last year or over the last month. And really that kind of shows like, okay, something that was very untangible, like today, your networks are protected today, and there's probably hundreds of potential network threats that are being blocked every second right now as we speak. But we don't get to see that. We just know it just happens in the background. And so this really kind of quantifies it and shows something, in terms of what is being blocked and how it's actually beneficial to your network. So that if you didn't have this kind of solution, these are all the threats that you would have been bombarded with. And it's seamlessly integrated to the Nebula platform. So you can click through from the Nebula and it will take you over to the Secu Reporter for that. So we've extended the functionalities of our Usg Flex line, and that's why we're excited today. We're able to provide now an 8-in-1 bundled security license coming standard with the Usg Flex, and all of our licensing upgrades, et cetera, will also include all of these bundles. If you have some existing bundles, there's some new bundle part numbers that include the 8-in-1. They're available if any of the new products, when you activate the bundles, they will also include the 8-in-1 in it when you upgrade to the latest firmware. So we just released 5.0, the ZLD firmware, which is for our USG series, and that includes web filtering, IPS, application control, anti-malware, email security, and Secu Reporter licensing. Now we've added some additional, those two extra ones, which is the secure profile sync. That's only available within the Nebula platform. That allows for you, like earlier I said, we can sync different configurations or different sites between the site configurations. So if you have like a mass DNS change, you can just change the master and the main device, and those devices will all the other configurations for the other devices on the sites will then follow suit. So they'll get all those same configurations. Collaborative detective response is also available both in the standalone and in the Nebula Cloud. But really the benefit is within the Nebula Cloud, because you do get much easier visibility of what's happening on your network holistically, not only from the devices themselves, but from the access points, and then also a higher view of your organization and in the different sites to see what's going on and be able to easily go in, drill in, troubleshoot. You're able to drill into each one of these access points. From the access points, you can even drill into each one of the customers to find out more information on what's going on within that network, and be able to see, on the switch side. So you get all that kind of visibility and be able to provide a collaborative response to any kind of threats that are out there. So here are some of the licenses that are available. Whoops, go back. Quick misclick there. So the 8-in-1 license, we are offering a free included Nebula for the first year. So let's say you bought a brand new USG Flex today that comes bundled with the 1-year licenses. We will give you 1 year of the Nebula platform license for the Pro package within that device. Now, some people have asked, well, what if I want to renew it? Do I still get the Nebula platform? And the answer is no. It's just like our existing Nebula platform today. There's two separate licenses. One is our, our UTM services component, which are the yearly subscription licenses for security. And then on the other side is you have a device management license for the cloud. So we've actually universalized it, and we've actually consolidated all the devices all have that same license for the Nebula Cloud. So it's just a matter of how many nodes you want onto that. So the renewal is for just then the security UTM portion. And if you'd like to continue to use the Nebula Cloud in the Pro feature set, then you can subscribe to that the Nebula Professional Pack to do that renewal. So that's a yearly subscription there. Now, if you decide not to use the professional version of Nebula Cloud, then it will resort down to our free version, which gives you kind of basic monitoring. And I'll share some of that information here as well. But this is kind of where it is. If you want to buy, or if you want secure Wi-Fi access, then you have to purchase that as a single license outside of the Nebula platform. And we are just basically, our hope is to bring now with the security platform, security gateway with the Usg Flex to really kind of, put together our entire range of products that are really fit for this network kind of access, be able to provide managed network services, network access for holistically for a network with security gateways, switches, access points, and all of that. So some of the things you might want to know from the licensing side as well. When you buy USG Flex that's bundled with services, the NCC pack is included. And also, obviously, it includes the NSS, which is the security pack. So NCC is just the Nebula Cloud Controller licensing, and NSS is our Nebula security pack. So that's the 8-in-1 pack, and those can actually function when you buy that license. That same license that you buy for the USG Flex is the same license that when you flip it over to the cloud is active in the cloud. So it's the one and the same, whether you're using it in a standalone mode or into the cloud. So you're able to basically make it really flexible on how you want to use it. Now, keep in mind though, with the free 1-year Pro pack that comes with the USG Flex, when you buy it as a bundle, that is automatically activated at the same time. So it's synced with your UTM service for that, basically that 1-year free. So it's whether you use it in standalone, that's already going to be ticking because it ticks with the your UTM platform. So if you're obviously wanting to use it for the Nebula side, you can instantly activate it, and again the UTM and the cloud will be in sync within the cloud itself. So if you decide 6 months from now, since you've already used 6 months of the UTM, you decide as a standalone you want to move over to the Nebula side, then you'll have 6 months of UTM left on it, and also 6 months left of the Nebula platform for the professional. So our USG Flex is our, we've released it about, I think 6 months now or so on this platform. USG Flex gives you a higher throughput, higher advanced throughput with higher security UTM, up to 500% more than the previous generation of USGs. And it provides you that collaborative detective response when using it with our access points, 2-factor authentication functions for VPN, which is important for remote access, and also with that secure Wi-Fi functionality, be able to provision those remote locations. Those are really the key features that within using with Nebula, and be able to use this flexible platform to provide you a secure, high-speed threat management solution. Now, if you're not using any kind of UTM, you can still use these USG Flexes within the Nebula platform. You'll just have to purchase the NCC licenses for that to activate it within the Nebula platform if you want to just manage them as a security router. Or you can then purchase functionalities there. But one thing that you have to be the NCC, or sorry, the NSS, the security platform, in order to turn on any of those, you have to basically purchase the bundle. It's kind of like an all or nothing. You can't choose and pick within the Nebula platform because it's just kind of under one umbrella of the security platform itself. So on the switches, we have our GS 1920 series. This is our most popular Nebula Flex platform, allowing for you to connect to Nebula and be able to use it in standalone mode as well. So this is kind of the universal device and the go-to for most of our partners today because it provides 8 ports, 24 port, 48 port, with and without PoE, with uplinks, for fiber and copper. So we're able to do that with this and be able to flex it into Nebula or use it in a free mode in Nebula or use it in a completely standalone mode. You can have access to a 10 gig version of that. So that's our XGS 1930 series with 10 gig uplinks. So it's all gigabit ports with 10 gig uplinks. Again, if you're having those kinds of networks with and without PoE. So we offer a 24, 48 port with up to 375 watts of power to doing that and be able to schedule that information or schedule these devices or configure these devices within the Nebula cloud itself. Our XS 1930s is one of our newer products that we've released that have multi-gig ports, copper and with PoE and with 10 gig uplinks. So it supports 1 gig, 2.5, 5 gigs, and 10 gig. So if you have applications that are using like our Wi-Fi 6 access points that use 2.5 gig uplinks with higher power PoE. So these support up to 60 watt platform of PoE. So the ultra PoE, or what some people will call PoE plus plus, 60 watts per port. Even on the 12 port version here, which is actually 8 ports of PoE, it has a 375 watt power supply. So this is just as powerful in terms of wattage budget to one of our 24 ports or 48 port switches on the non 10 gig side. So it's very powerful. It's plenty of power to power up 8 ports of a Wi-Fi 6 access point deployment. So this is something you would want to look at and be able to provide higher throughput, higher speeds, and still manage them within the Nebula Cloud platform. We've just released also our GS 2220 series. This is our layer 2 managed switch that can be managed within the cloud itself. So when you purchase one of these, this also comes with 1 year of Nebula Pro Pack included within the device. Now, if you use, again, it's similar to the USG. If you use it in standalone mode, it will still be, ticking away at the 1 year anyways, because we're providing that as just an included, kind of an included, free Nebula Pro Pack option for you to use if you decide to use it. So it has that to be able to put in the cloud. We have extra functionalities to not only to do layer 2 advanced multicasting, but also with network a network AV. So there's a lot of network AV functions within the GS 2200 that's exclusive to it that allow for you to manage those kinds of verticals and applications. So we work with some partners to do that, to be able to provide video to different screens and use multicast and some advanced AI to do to make sure that the network is as streamlined as possible. Be able to provide also that Network Flex Pro. So Network Flex is great to be able to choose both standalone or use basic free Nebula to manage it, or then move into the Pro Pack. So Pro Pack gives you just a lot more functions, and we'll talk about what those functions can be. Our XS 3800 series is our switches that are more of like a concentrator, you would say. It has all 10 gig or multi-gig ports with and without fiber. It doesn't have PoE. It's more of like a concentrator, top of the rack type application, but it's a hybrid switch. It means that it has a lot of, fiber, 10 gig fiber uplinks or ports alongside with some copper options. So they can choose what kind of devices can connect, or you can uplink these to those XS 1930 switches or the XGS 1930s as well. So you can use those to connect this as a core, maybe like a core type switch. On the access point, we have a full range of products that work within the Nebula series as well. On the low end, our Wi-Fi 5, which is our AC product line, and also some Wi-Fi 6 here. But what I really want to highlight is our indoor and also our in-room. We just released our WAC 500H, which is a AC access point, but also our Wi-Fi 6 options as well. So here is still our AC options for outdoor. And here are our lower end our kind of entry level AX. So our NWA 210AX, those are our Wi-Fi 6 series. And then our flagship WAX 510s and the 650Ss. So multi-gig capable with multi-gig uplink. So you can see this is a 2.5. This is a gigabit ports. This is a 5 gig uplink port, or even our 610D, which is a 2.5. So these are really paired well with those XS 1930s. And then from the Nebula standpoint, when you're dealing with licensing, we basically have a base pack tier, a plus pack, which we've just added, and also a pro pack. So these are all kind of flat rate. You can, price per device. So whether it be an access point, a switch, or a gateway, it's going to be the same license, the same price for all those three. Before we had, separate prices for each, but we wanted to simplify it to make sure that it was, easy to say, hey, if I have one access point, one gateway, one switch, I just need 3 licenses, in plus pack or pro pack. So it depends on which one you're trying to use, and improved in terms of feature sets. We give this middle tier where there are some features that most of our partners are saying, hey, I don't need the pro pack for everything, but I do need a few of these other features. And we've kind of identified what those few features are and made a tier that is more cost effective, for that kind of management. So you can choose from the free all the way up. And we have some battle cards. I don't expect you to just remember or memorize all of this, but base pack in general provides, some authentication, the provisioning, some management, the authentication for device authentication. It keeps a 24-hour rolling log just within the cloud system itself. You can still manage it. There's admin accounts. There's 5 here that you can have, or authentication up to 50. So these are basically per site. If you want to move to the plus pack, it gives you some additional features like advanced reporting, advanced firmware scheduling, email user notifications, and Wi-Fi vouchers for AutoGen for like public, network access on the wireless. But Pro Pack gives you 1 years of rolling. There's no limit on the number of admin accounts that you can make. And there's additional authentication, and there's a lot of additional features that come into play, like your network cloning, a lot of management functionalities that you would typically need as a managed service provider to get that information, be able to see the network topology, the auto network topology, be able to use that dynamic PSK for that machine learning, be able to see VPN topology, and be able to do advanced switch control, bandwidth management functions like that. And also that CDR, that collaborative detection response within the switch and the access points to respond to those threats. So you need those both in the USG and the access points and any switches that you have in the network. So the entire organization basically has to become part of the Pro Pack licensing in order to get all that Pro Pack features. So that just is how, and these are yearly subscription fees for that, and to be able to manage that within the different devices within the Nebula platform. So, like I said here too, just reiterate, when you have all the devices with no licensing, they'll be sitting in Nebula as a base pack, which is our free licensing option with those features that we mentioned. And then you can move into the Pro Pack. It's all one-to-one licensing. So as long as you have a valid Pro Pack for your switches, for your gateways, and your access points, then they will be in a Pro Pack tier. So all the devices have to be within that in order to manage that. Otherwise, you could have, like, say, switches not on a Pro Pack if they were, put in a different organization or a different site, right? You can do that if you want to kind of get around it a little bit. But in order to get the full Pro Pack feature set, then all the devices within that organization also goes to the Pro Pack. We've simplified our Pro Pack licenses. Like I mentioned earlier, we used to have, for each access point, switch, and gateway, we would have a 1-year license and a 2-year license. And so there was 6 SKUs. Now it's 6 SKUs have gone to 2 SKUs. We just have a Pro Pack per device license for 1 year and a Pro Pack license for a 2-year. So these part numbers, you'll see a little bit different. These are kind of like our internal part numbers, or with what we talk to with our distribution partners. But you'll see, within our price sheets and on online through distribution, these pro packs that are 1 year pro pack, and a 2 year pro pack, and that's just what they'll be for. They will no longer say, for a certain device. It'll just be a universal license. But I'm excited to announce as well, if you didn't get an email today or this week, we have launched what we call our best trade-in offer ever. So you can get a free USG Flex network security gateway when you trade in your old USG or your NSG gateway and purchase a 2-year license. We basically have a special 2-year license plus hardware SKU bundle that we've skewed up within our distribution side. And if you are a partner with us, you can have access to those by filling out by submitting a request. If you go to zyxel.us/trade up, one word, you're able to access a trade-in form where you can provide the serial and the MAC address of your trade-in qualified trade-in device and the customer that it belongs to, or the end customer you're trying to trade it in for. Or if it's yourself, then you can put yourself as the trade-in partner or the trade-in end customer. And upon approval, that information will get sent to the distribution partner of your choice within that survey or then that application, and you'll get a quote basically on these new devices or this device bundle that contains the USG, let's say Flex plus a 2-year license. Now, if you want to use these within the Nebula platform, then it's additional licenses required because these are not bundled products. They don't include the Nebula Control Center in this promo. So you'll have to, if you want to add the Nebula functionality or to even try it out, you'll have to add the Nebula license to it. Now, it actually does come with a 30-day trial anyways for Nebula, so you can still use that, or you can check it out within the Nebula Pro side of things. So if you have also USG devices that are existing, you may have customers who are already using an existing USG, not the Flex, but maybe the old model of USG. You can use a configuration tool that allows for you to move and migrate kind of like for like models. So USG 40 gets moved to a USG Flex 100. There's a configuration tool that lets you migrate that. Now, you also get to migrate existing licenses. So let's say you have a USG 40 customer who has 6 months left in their UTM platform. And so you want them to move to USG Flex just because it's a better platform, it's higher throughput, more security, or you want to add the secure Wi-Fi functionalities or collaborative defense systems, then you actually can migrate within the MyZyxel platform the licensing terms from the USG 40 over to the new platform. So you can transfer, let's say you had 6 months left, to this trade-in device and be able to get an additional 6 months. You would move that over. So really then they're not losing any of those licenses or time frames. So you can migrate customers immediately. You don't have to wait until the USG 40 has 2 weeks of service left before you change out the customer system. They can actually migrate and transfer that prorate over to the new platform. So they would end up getting 2 years and 6 months of UTM services if they migrated in this scenario, right? So being able to take advantage of that is super beneficial. You can look at the 2-year license cost of a USG USG Flex 100 is street price is $340. So you're going to get the hardware platform plus 2 years of that. So we want you as partners to pass that on to your customer. We want this to be a trade-in, trade-up opportunity for you to get and to lock in your additional partners, for this platform. So be able to use this as a tool to maybe get even, all of your existing network people who are using USGs to move finally to the new platform. So being able to, then that way we were able to support them better, and also gives them options within the Nebula Cloud for you to manage them as well. So here are some of the trade-in NSGs, the existing NSGs. If you want to trade them up, you can trade them to these appropriate models. And really, it's all about speed, throughput, and also the new security features that I mentioned earlier with the platform. And our existing USG 40, 40W, 60, 60Ws, these are also the migration path as well. And again, you can see it's mostly SPI firewall throughput. UTM throughput is drastically improved. Is a big improvement for not only security but speed. So being able to offer even an existing similar like for like product, but be able to offer much higher throughputs. Especially today, everybody is moving to a higher throughput platform. James asked a question: can I upgrade a NSG 100 to USG Flex 100 or downgrade? Yeah, you can. The only thing is that you won't be able to use your the configuration tool to do the migration. But since you are going from an NSG, like an NSG to use, there's no migration tool for the NSG itself. You would have to basically reconfigure a USG Flex in the new platform. But you can downgrade as well. Yeah, you could go to the downgrade side, but from a pricing standpoint, it would just save you. I guess we just want to save you some money. You can do that as well. It doesn't matter to us, but we find more customers are actually going to a higher platform because they're just wanting even more speed. So even though they're USG 40, you can technically choose to go to a USG Flex 200 if you'd like to do that as an upgrade. We're okay with that if you want to upgrade. Thank you for the question. So really, that's it. I mean, we get to work together, not only as with Zyxel and you as partners, but be able to provide now a solution that we can Nebula together with our security gateways, our security, our access points, and our switches now coming together in a complete solution, providing those security features, being able to make sure that remote access devices, people who are remote working are secure, and do it in a way that from a managed service provider or from a management standpoint, even IT management can benefit from this Nebula platform. Tyler just asked, can you comment on the Nebula ATP timing at all? Yes, it is in the works. I mean, I know we've been saying that for a while, but we were focused on getting the USG Flex because of the similar platform it is, and it's more mainstream. And ATP will follow shortly. I believe it should be the second half of this year that we will have the ATP platform within the Nebula as well. Anonymous person says, when does the new Nebula interface go live? It actually should go live, should have gone live. Actually, the interface is available already. So as long as you've upgraded your USG Flex, if you have a USG Flex today and you upgrade to the 5.0 firmware, you'll be able to basically do a reboot. And then once it reboots, you'll have the option to go to and to choose to flex the device into Nebula or to use it still within the standalone mode. So within the Nebula side, the interface for Nebula itself is already supporting of the new USG Flex platform. So that should already be there. All right, so at this time, if you have any other questions, please feel free to use the Q&A, and I'll gladly try to answer those as we go. If not, if you decide to drop off, thank you very much for attending, and we look forward to being able to provide you a solution for this. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your sales rep over at Zyxel or through your distribution partner. Or if you don't have any access to that either, you can always email me. My email address is tri, at Zyxel.com. And feel free to send me a message, any questions you may have, and I can help direct that to anybody who can help you out. But ultimately, we're looking forward to getting your users, your customers to upgrade to the USG Flex platform if they're using the USG, and also take advantage of the Zyxel Nebula platform. What about MSP license changes? When is that in effect? It's actually in effect today. I believe, no, I think I believe it should be in effect, should be already in effect for the MSP licensing side of things. I'll have to double check because I know they had some delay on the MSP side of the changes, but I think it should be available today as part of this launch. All right, I'm just going to sit for another minute or so to see if there's any other questions. But we've been able to do all of these slides within the 1 hour time frame. So I appreciate your attention and be able to allow for me to talk through that. Buzz asks, is there a walkthrough configuration for standalone to Nebula? Yeah, there is a walkthrough SOP that we have also linked within the upgrade side of things, also to guide you through that. We also have tech support also has some documentation as well. I don't know if that got sent out within the email itself, but we have a landing page that for our USG Together, Nebula Together page that also includes some of that information. So, but if you can't find it, Buzz, feel free to drop your sales rep on information on how to do that. Within the device itself, you'll see there's a tool for that configuration. Um, so, oh, but you're going to Nebula. Sorry, I misread that. Walking through configuration from standalone config to Nebula. Um, yeah, there's some SOPs. There's also a training within our education site. If you go to the Zyxel's website and go to the education portion, there's actually a Nebula kind of walkthrough on how to configure your devices for the Nebula platform in the USG. So you can use that as a way to get information on how to best practice that. Also, if you reach out to our tech support as well, they should be able to have a best practice kind of configuration for those who want to use the Nebula platform. Tyler has any new outdoor access points options in the horizon. There are that we do. The main focus though is not going to be on any kind of WISP outdoor access point clients. So far, the focus has always been extending an existing network. So our two current outdoor access points that are, I think they're still WAC versions. We do have some in the plans for obviously a WAX version. So Wi-Fi 6 options for the outdoor. But right now, we still only have our AC versions for the outdoor now, and they're going to be focused still on like an access point to extend the network within a local area, or different panel type or sectored antennas or sectored APs that you can add 3 or 4 of those to make the coverage area that you need. All right, I think that's probably it then. Again, appreciate the time that you've spent with me today, and being able for me to present this great new solution to you. I'm excited to see where it goes and how many of you to be able to take advantage of that secure Wi-Fi application and the remote access applications that's provided through both the standalone and also through the Nebula platform, and giving you some glimpse and visibility into the Nebula platform that maybe you haven't seen before, and how you can take advantage of that single pane organizational level of management within the Nebula cloud, and be able to provide solutions like this to your customers. So look forward to chatting with you again. We'll look forward to seeing you at another webinar coming soon, and hope you have a great rest of your day, and stay safe. Thank you for making Zyxel your networking ally.